everybody, Dr. Jordan here at Mouw Family Chiropractic, and we're just bringing you our very first Body Signals webinar here on a very important topic that we're passionate about. We don't want you guys to just feel better temporarily, we actually want you to be healthier. And we know that this subject is such a huge part of you actually having that health that we know that you want to have and we want for you. So we're going to dive into this. It's called Get 15 Pounds Healthier in 15 Weeks. So, and the first thing that I think is important on this is to know a clear objective that you have. Know your why, so to speak. And that's really going to be what propels you through the challenges that come with getting healthier, cleaning up your nutrition, losing weight, getting trimmer, right? Because we know that it's challenging. So if you're not clear on your why, it's going to be even more challenging. So here's some ideas for you to get you going. A why could be just losing weight. Hey, I'm feeling overweight. I'm just carrying too much. Whatever it might be. I'm sluggish. I don't like the way my body composition is. Maybe to avoid disease. I mean, this is a huge one, saying, hey, I just had a patient the other day, she was saying, hey, my mom's dealing with this right now, and I don't want to deal with that. What do I need to do today to avoid that, right? Because I see the suffering that they're going through and the challenges they're going through, so maybe that's it. Maybe it's you want to get faster, you want to be stronger, right? Maybe you're training for something, maybe you're an athlete, you're getting into marathons, you're getting into triathlons, you're just training with friends, right? And you want to get stronger. And you're a CrossFitter or something like that, and you want to get your nutrition up for that, or just performance in general. You're at work and you just want to be clear-headed, you want to be focused and energetic. You want to be just more healthy for your family. It could be a ton of different things just to get you started here, but it's really important, I think, to get clear on what that why is. And so the brutal facts, we know that obesity is really the linchpin for a lot of other chronic diseases that happen. And the way we're eating is such a huge factor in a lot of chronic disease that we see. And so this just says the present obesity epidemic is both troubling and informative because adiposity is largely caused by poor diet, okay, excess calories, and inadequate physical activity. Emphasis on more downstream risk factors such as hypertension, dyslipidemia, and diabetes address neither the root causes, okay, this is really important, neither the root causes or of obesity nor its full cardiovascular consequences. So our focus is on the effects of this issue, not really what's causing it. And so we really want to shift that focus for you guys, not trying to clean it up once it's happened, but how do we actually get to the root cause and actually address that so we can avoid all the downstream effects in the first place. So,
because I think a lot of people's approach, Doc, is that they're so focused on, oh, my doctor told me I have high cholesterol, or, oh, I have high blood pressure, right? And everything's focused at lowering your cholesterol or lowering your blood pressure. Yeah, there are levels that are high, but why are we focused on that when we can really take care of the root cause of the problem, focusing on lifestyle-driven habits?
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely, yeah. Also here, the prevalence of overweight U.S. adults has increased dramatically during the last 30 years, with type 2 diabetes representing what is perhaps the most serious obesity-related consequence. So we're just what this slide is saying is that in the recent past, right, in the recent time frame of 30 years, it's increasing dramatically. Something's wrong, right? Something's not going right. So.
Yeah, nearly 90% of people with type 2 diabetes are overweight.
Yeah.
I mean, so it, once again, like you said, direct correlation. I mean, it's the linchpin, right?
Yep. So obesity, I mean, we kind of mentioned this, but it's got all kinds of ties into heart disease, diabetes, cancer, some of the biggest chronic illnesses in terms of effects on our country and costs on our country is this guy. What people are currently doing that is not working, we wanted to address that too. Get in there.
Yep. So.
And this is I think a great just idea to have in your head, and that is fat is not the problem, it's the symptom of a problem, a deeper problem. And so I think that we think that fat is the problem, but it's actually a symptom. It's a signal that your body is trying to tell you that something's not right. You've lost proper function. And so we want to dive into, well, what is your body trying to tell you, and what can you do to correct that?
Yeah. So what is it on the surface, right? If you guys watched the introductory presentation, one of the things that we gave you is the iceberg analogy, right? 10% of the issues are on the surface, but the real problem is below the surface. It's 90% of the issue. Well, when you talk about being overweight, and we're not just talking obesity, we're talking about just excess fat that you don't want, okay? That's really what we're talking about. It really comes down to a chronic hormone imbalance, okay? Hormones are everything when it comes to weight gain. Okay, so adiposity or extra body fat, the body fat that you don't want, is a symptom of a chronic hormone imbalance. Hormones and enzymes are what regulate fat storage. We're going to talk about one here in just a second that plays a crucial role in that. But you must regain hormone balance if you want to address the issue. You'll never have a chance at regaining or getting to your ideal weight, so to speak, if you don't address the hormone issues that are driving that problem. Okay, so what do we mean by a hormone imbalance? Well, there's kind of this perfect storm that comes up when we talk about the issues that we're dealing with as a society. Okay, so, and I think a lot of you will relate to this. Well, number one, we have both toxic and deficient food choices. Well, what does toxic mean? Well, that just means that there's things in your food that are inherently toxic to your body. I was just talking about this. I don't know if you're over at our house the other day, Doc, but we were talking about it with a couple that we were together with. And we were talking about like Diet Coke, right? Like if you spilled a Diet Coke on your floor, you would probably there's kids that drink pop in this country, right? We drink pop in this country. But if it fell onto our floor, immediately we pick it up if we have a dog or a cat around, right? Because we wouldn't feed it to our animals. Yet somehow we're okay with putting it in our body or putting it in our kid's body, right? So when we talk about toxic foods, we're talking about foods that are nutrient void, so they have no nutrients, but they have a lot of chemicals in them, preservatives, processed foods, okay? And then in terms of deficiency, a lot of our foods lack resources or sources of nutrients that we should be getting that our body absolutely requires of us. And we're going to talk about some of that as well. So toxic and deficient food choices, then we have an energy imbalance, okay? So we're sitting too much, we're too sedentary. 63% of Americans sit behind a desk for 40 to 50 hours a week for a living, right? Our body was designed to move. So we have sedentary lifestyles, but on top of that, we eat excess calories. Okay, I don't know how many of you can relate, but it's hey, I didn't have my meal plan for lunch today, and so I'm just grabbing something on the go. It's convenient, right? So I always give the example of nowadays with drive-thrus, you pull up to a drive-thru window, they throw a bunch of junk in most cases with drive-thrus into your car for food, and you burn no energy getting it, and you're going to consume a ton of calories in doing so, okay? And then you add in things that we deal with nowadays that most of our ancestors have never dealt with, which is number one, chronic social stress. Look at your schedule, right? Most of us have it in our phones. If you pull out your phone, you probably have kids' baseball games, kids' soccer games, meetings, family gathering, right? Our weekends are totally consumed, our weeks are totally consumed, and it's because of this chronic social stress that's driving it, and because we're socially stressed, we have a lack of sleep. So we're chronically exhausted. We're pointing at what Dr. Andrew talked about is fatigue, right? What's your objective? Well, if you have weight gain, you're probably noticing a loss of energy. You're starting to notice more fatigue. Well, that's because we're exhausted from our busy schedules and we have a lack of sleep. So you guys see the hormone imbalance that's created by these 5 things, okay? So the hormone we're going to talk about is insulin. Insulin is your fat storage hormone, okay? So if you know any type 1 diabetics, you know that their body doesn't create insulin, so they're required to do injections of insulin to make sure that stays up, okay? When it comes to type 2 diabetes, which is part of the linchpin or the downstream effects of obesity or being overweight, we know that insulin, your body isn't responding to insulin. Okay, so you're going to put on more fat, and so insulin is your fat storage hormone, and as we like to say, elevated insulin locks you into fat storage mode. Okay, so insulin is going to be a big part of this. So the top 4 dieting lies. I absolutely love these, and I can't tell you how many times we've heard these in the office, Doc. We've had family members tell us this, we've had friends tell us these before, but we're gonna totally shatter the top 4 dieting lies. So number 1 is weight problems run in my family. Okay. Number 2 is just eat less and you'll lose weight. If you starve yourself enough, you're gonna lose weight over time. We're gonna talk about that. I'll just work it off at the gym. Right? The good old, I can eat whatever I want because I'm going to the gym later, right? Or sleep has nothing to do with it, okay? So let's talk about number 1. Weight problems run in my family, okay? As we have a saying in the office, we say that weight problems don't run in your family. The issue is that nobody runs in your family, okay? So that's the part of the issue is we need to get out and exercise. We're gonna talk about those things here in just a little bit. But do you guys remember the fat gene? I don't know if you guys remember, they were trying to search for the fat gene, but I always love that. But let's really talk about what plays a role in terms of our overall health, okay? Or overall body composition. So really what I want you guys to understand is that we're not so much talking about weight loss, we're talking about fat loss, okay? And a part of this is body composition. This is going to be a huge part of our conversation is because phenotypes or your body composition runs in your family. Well, there's really 3 things that make up your overall level of health. Number 1 is your genetics, okay? We have a good mentor of ours. I heard him say it once and I love the analogy is that God gives you a piano, but you get to choose what music you play with it, okay? So yeah, you're given your genetics from your mom and your dad and you don't have a lot of say in that, but you also get to, through your lifestyle and through your environmental habits, that's what drives your genetics. That determines what genes are turned off and what genes are turned on. It's a whole another conversation. It's a new area of research that's coming out called epigenetics, how your lifestyle drives your genes. But just know that, yeah, you're given your genes, but you can influence those genes as well, okay? Part 2 of that is environmental, okay? So this is another area that really I like to say that you're at an effect for, but just remember that, you know, the chemicals you use on your carpets, the things you use in your house, around your home, you do have choices over those things. So there's maybe about 15 to 20% of the environment that we can actually play a role on, and it's really related to the things that you use around your house. Now, when it comes to where you have 100% autonomy, that's over your lifestyle, okay? So everything that we're going to talk about from here on moving forward is lifestyle. How does your lifestyle, how does your every choice every day make a difference for how you live, not 5 years from now, not 10 years from now, but literally the rest of your life, okay? So I hope that makes sense to you guys, but body composition is going to be a huge part of this. Because here's the trends that we're seeing. By the way, this is a graph on obesity trends for US adults. And just so you guys know, obesity just means that 33% of your body fat, or 33% of your body is fat. Okay, so you have a 33% body fat or more. Well, in 1994, there were only 2 states that had above an 18% body fat across the population of that state. Okay, so all states were pretty much below 18%. If you want to take 25 years from 1994 or 20 years to about 2015, what you'll notice is that there's one state, the state is Colorado, that has 18 to 22% body fat. Otherwise, every other state is 26% or more body fat. What I want you guys to take away from this is that this isn't something that's taken place over centuries. This is a very drastic change over the last 20 to 30 years, okay? And so our obesity trends are starting to show that. That last slide was adults, but I also want to talk about children, okay? This is the state of Iowa, by the way. Obese and overweight children, the ages of 10 to 17 as of 2016. In the state of Iowa and Nebraska are the same, whether which side of the river you live on, but 30% of the children in the state of Iowa and the state of Nebraska between the ages of 10 and 17 are either overweight or obese. If we don't change our health for us, let's at least do it for the next generation, okay? So there's the same mentor I was talking about earlier. His sister works as a nurse at Mass General, which is one of the largest hospitals in the U.S. out in the Boston area. And she had come into his office one day to get adjusted, and one of the things that she had mentioned to him, she was in tears. and she had said that at Mass General, they built a brand new $50 million ward to service overweight and obese children. $50 million to take care of children that are morbidly obese. That's unbelievable, right? So we're spending so much money, and it's not just the adults that we're dealing with. We're starting to see it in younger and younger populations. So this is a huge issue. So when it comes to weight gain, it's really important to understand your body composition, okay? So if there's one thing that's genetic, it's your body composition. If you look at your mom and your dad, you probably have a similar body composition to them, okay? So there's 3 different types. So it's really, body composition is really phenotypes, okay? That's what it's called. But your phenotype is genetically driven. So you have your classic ectomorph. Dr. Andrew is a classic ectomorph, okay? These are the people that we get jealous of because they can eat whatever they want and they never gain weight, okay? So Dr. Andrew is a classic ectomorph. A mesomorph, this is somebody who just looks at weights and they put on muscle mass, okay? So I'm not a perfect example of that. I'm probably a blend between the two. But a mesomorph is just somebody who just easily puts on a lot of strength, a lot of muscle. And then you have endomorphs, okay? There is a healthy version of each one of these. But one of the things that I'll tell you is that if you are a true endomorph, there's a very fine line. There's a very slippery slope in terms of what you should and shouldn't put into your body, okay? If you go sideways just for a little bit, you'll notice that you'll put on fat pretty quickly. What that just means is that it means that you're really efficient, okay? If you look at our ancestors, during times of starvation, during times of famine, an endomorph body was really healthy, right? I mean, that was awesome. The problem is with this modern day society and the hormone-driven imbalance that we're starting to see, an endomorph needs to be really careful about what they do in terms of their lifestyle because they're gonna have a tendency to put on more fat. It just means that you're more efficient. Okay, in all honesty, that's what it is. You're really efficient at putting on fat. The thing is you just have to be very careful there. There's a slippery slope to that. So
I think a word that's helpful for me when I think about this is predisposition. We all kind of have our bent of what we're gonna be like under normal circumstances. So this, I mean, if everything's equal, you know, we're gonna be kind of lining up on one of these 3 things, but again, that's just kind of our natural tendency, our bent if everything's equal. This is not an excuse for anybody to be a certain way. So
yeah, like I said, there's a natural tendency there, but there's a healthy version of each one of those.
Absolutely.
Healthy version, absolutely. Big lie number 2.
Yes, this is just eat less and you'll lose weight, right? All about calories, let's just restrict, and that's our strategy on losing weight. And we're just going to suggest to you that this rarely works, and if it does, it's not sustainable. So just a little bit on this. Like we talked about that, you know, sustainability piece. Like you imagine if you're going to say, hey, I'm going to try to breathe less, right? Like a really simple thing, right? I breathe all the time, and I'm just going to, you know, instead of 12 breaths an hour or a minute, I'm going to take 10. And maybe you could do that for a few minutes, but after an hour of doing that, you're gonna be really noticing a big difference, and you're not gonna be able to keep doing it. So it's kind of just an idea. And I think, you know, some people watching this maybe have tried this before and realize, yeah, this is not gonna work long term. So, and then you're really looking to shift not just restriction of food, but your metabolism over time. And so we really want to look at how do we shift our metabolism, not just shifting calories. And they're 2 different things. And then you really, like long-term restriction doesn't put you in a healthy state. It puts your body in more of a survival mode. More of like, we just need to, I'm threatened, right? It's going to signal some things in your body that long-term aren't going to be good for it as far as hormones, as far as body chemistry and things like that. So this is really not a good strategy.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that if you've ever tried this before, you would notice what I call the yo-yo effect. Yeah. You notice that it's really good for maybe 2 or 3 months, but all of a sudden 3 months after that, all of a sudden you put on not just that weight again, but usually your body's in survival mode, right? So it doesn't know the next time that you're gonna starve it.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you're putting on more weight quicker the second go around, right? So all of a sudden you have this roller coaster or yo-yo effect of up and down, just to kind of see the scale budge just a little bit. But when long term, you're probably going to end up with more weight because it's just not sustainable. Yep. So number 3, I'll just work it off at the gym, right? The classic, I can eat whatever I want, and if you're an ectomorph, you'll get away with this for a little while, but I'll just work it off at the gym. Well, let's talk about that. Well, number 1, there's called an energy balance, okay? There's an economy of energy that your body can display, okay? Well, number 1, we have what's called thrifty genes, okay? What I mean by that is that your body is really good at putting on weight, and it's really difficult to lose weight. So if you've ever been there before trying to lose 25 pounds, it may take you 3, 4, 5, 6 months to do that, but if you were to stop doing what got you there, how quickly would you put that weight back on? In half the time, right? I mean, or quicker, right? So your body's really good at putting on weight, but it's really challenging to lose weight. That's the energy imbalance that we're talking about there. So it's very easy to consume calories, right? Hence the blueberry muffin, and very difficult to burn them. So one of the sayings that we always have in the office, and if you're a patient, you may have heard this before, is you'll never out-train a lousy diet, okay? No matter what. Here's what I mean by that. 30% of being healthy comes from being in the gym. 70% of it comes from your diet, comes from your nutrition. If you just change your nutrition, you would notice a 70% change from that, okay? Or as we like to say, abs are made in the kitchen, not in the gym, okay? We all have a six-pack, it's under there somewhere, okay? But it's made in the kitchen, not in the gym, okay? So, 7 dieting pitfalls. Talk about drinking calories, Doc.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people will think, oh, it's all about the food, right? What am I eating? And I just am amazed at how many calories someone can take in just with their beverages. I mean, you look at how much sugar is in a soda, or Frappuccino, or all these beverages that we have. I mean, I really challenge you to look the nutrient facts on that and really see how many calories does this thing have, how much fat, how much sugar does it have, and you'll be blown away at how much you can consume in just like a small beverage. Oh, and alcohol is another thing. Alcohol is extremely dense in terms of calories and like energy in that. So
yeah, I think 2 things on that I want to point out. Do you remember the unicorn Frappuccino that Starbucks came out with? The pink Frappuccino that they came out with? And everybody was like, it has 72 calories or 76 calories in it, right? And then come to find out, like started telling patients, hey, look at your regular Frappuccino, and they're like, it has 40 grams of sugar in it, or it had 76 grams of sugar in it. And then they look at their own Frappuccino and it's 40 grams of sugar, right? Or 50 grams of sugar. I'm like, the unicorn, yeah, it has a little bit more, but it doesn't have, the everyday what you're drinking in terms of your Frappuccino. And the other thing is just be careful with your sports drinks for your kids. Gatorades, Powerades, stuff like that. I mean, I remember drinking all those things. You look at how much sugar's in that stuff. There's a lot.
Energy drinks too.
Yeah.
Watch that stuff.
Yep. So too much fruit. What I mean by that is I've had patients come in and they're like, I'm like, so, what did you have for breakfast? And they're like, oh, I had this awesome smoothie, right? And then I ask them what they put in their smoothie and they're like, well, I had apples and blueberries and strawberries, and they start naming off all of these fruits. Well, you got to remember that fruit is sugar, right? It has fructose in it, right? And your body responds to sugar the same. Yeah, fruit's healthy, but even an apple has like 15 to 19 grams of sugar in it, right? So you just got to be careful, especially with smoothies, how much fruit you're eating. I know that kids love fruit, and things like watermelon are great. There's a lot of hydration that comes from that. So there's certain fruits, but just be careful of how much you and your kids are eating fruit, and making sure that you're getting your vegetables in, obviously. Dairy.
Dairy can be a lot too. Cheeses, milk, yogurts. Yogurts, like you wouldn't think that a little kid's yogurt could have a lot of sugar in it, but man, it's crazy. So watch the dairy products too.
And it's hard to digest.
Yes.
The enzymes are really hard to digest, depending on what source of dairy you're looking at there. Grainitarians. These are the people I love. I love pasta. My wife loves pasta. We love pizza. But just getting caught up in eating too many grains. I've talked to vegetarians before, and then when they tell me what they're eating, it's basically all grains. So just make sure that, especially with gluten issues nowadays, just make sure that you're not overeating the pastas and the breads and stuff like that, because your body just converts those carbs to sugar anyways. So just be careful of your grains.
Snacking. We talked about insulin, the hormone, the fat storage hormone. Like, grains are going to drive that, right?
Yeah,
so
huge.
The snacks, there's when you eat during the day is really important too, and how often, the frequency that you eat. Based on what your goal is, you want to be sure that you have a strategy around how much you're going to eat, when, right? Maybe your strategy is to bulk up and put some muscle on and add some weight. Well, then maybe you're eating more frequently throughout the day. So the frequency of snacking and that sort of thing, and also the health. I would say, if you can get some vegetables and some hummus as a snack, that's going to be a completely different snack than like a fruit smoothie with only fruit in it, right? Or a granola bar that's really going to spike your insulin or something like that, or a simple carb. So just keep in mind, sometimes those snacks will really throw you off. Like, you can have a great day in terms of your meals, but then your snacks are dropping the ball, and that's going to totally throw your whole plan off.
Yeah. I'll ask patients, hey, what did you eat today? Or, what have you been meal prepping or something like that? And they'll be like, well, I had a salad, and I can't lose any weight. And I'm like, well, I had a salad for breakfast. They'll say I had a salad for lunch and a salad for supper, and I can't lose any weight. But then all of a sudden you ask them about their snacks, and you start to realize how many extra calories they're putting on with just their snacking. And then post-exercise binging. So just because you went and did a workout doesn't mean that it gives you an excuse to drive through Starbucks, okay? So beyond popular belief, I know that's a common thing, like, oh, I worked out, so now I get to treat myself to X. Yeah, every so often that's okay, but just be careful of your post-exercise binging. That'll get you too. And then the last one is skipping breakfast. Breakfast is so important. Making sure that, there's some good research coming out now about intermittent fasting. That's a separate conversation. If you have questions on that, let me know. That every so often doing some intermittent fasting is good, but regularly skipping breakfast. The reason breakfast is so important is it sets your hormones for the day. Once again, that H word comes back up, hormones. When you eat a good, healthy breakfast, not Pop-Tarts, not toaster strudels, okay, not Fruit Loops, but a healthy breakfast, eggs, bacon, a piece of Ezekiel bread or sprouted toast or something like that, oatmeals with some fruit or some, in there as well. There's really good healthy breakfast options, but making sure that you're not skipping breakfast on a regular basis. I have patients that have probably not eaten breakfast for 1 or 2 years, right? That's not good for your hormones. It creates that imbalance. Okay, so 7 dieting pitfalls. I think each one of you probably can take away 1 or 2 from there. Big lie number 4.
Sleep has nothing to do with it, and I love this because I feel like when people think about their weight, they think about losing weight, they getting more fit, changing their body composition. But sleep is the last thing in that conversation, and it is such a critical part. And I just want to share it with you a little bit of why. Basically, we talked about the importance of your hormones in your weight and in your metabolism and things like that. And sleep actually is so critical to set a normal hormone balance and set a good metabolism. And so that's where sleep really comes into this conversation. And so you have cortisol cycles, which is a really important stress hormone. It's normal in our body. It kind of gets fluctuated out of normal and kind of in extreme levels when we're under stress, but it's a good hormone. We want that. We just need it in a normal balance, and a normal sleep schedule will help our stress hormones, like cortisol, to stay in a normal place. And if our cortisol is way out of whack, your body's going to be trying to put on weight. It's stressed out. It's like going to be saying, hey, how can we protect us? How can we get ready to get into a survival mode if we need to? Like a danger is coming. So it's just amazing at how that one hormone could set you off, and how lack of sleep can set that off. Unnatural schedules. So kind of Dr. Jordan alluded to that earlier, how our schedules are so packed. I mean, I don't think there's been a day in history, if you look back, that people were as busy as they are today. How can we do more and get more done and do it all, right? Like we all want to do it all, and there's very little margin in our lives anymore. So we're waking up really early and we're cramming the day full, and we're staying up really late with some of our, kids. We hear of games being late at night and
9 o'clock at night, sports starting. I'm like,
yeah,
you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah, all weekend, and it just never stops. So the unnatural rhythms and schedules that we have. I mean, our ancestors used to get up when the sun came up and go to sleep when the sun came down, and we got lights, we got screens going way into the night. So really watch that. The unnatural lighting, just kind of mentioned that, I guess. And what that means is that will affect another hormone in your body, melatonin, which is really important to establish good sleeping rhythms. And so most screens, like this one, will have a blue light to it that will actually decrease the melatonin in your body. It will throw that balance off. And so it will make it harder for you to get to sleep, and it will make it harder for you to stay asleep. And once you're in sleep, it make it harder to get good deep sleep. So watch the screen time. That will actually help you lose weight. So because it'll help you sleep better. Leptin, that's another hormone that we talk about. When we're sleep deprived, that's going to throw leptin off, and leptin determines what your appetite's like. So if leptin is out of balance, you're going to be way hungry, and you're going to be eating more than you should. We talked about like snacking, right? I think a lot of this snacking throughout the day comes because we're chronically tired, and we're trying to medicate that tiredness all day long, and a lot of times how we do it is food. Mm-hmm. And so really we wouldn't be that hungry if we just got some sleep, if we just got our body some rest. So really think about that. Ghrelin, that's another one that can get out of balance. It can throw your appetite way up. Get some rest, the appetite will calm down, you won't need to eat, you won't feel that impulse to eat all the time.
Yeah, these two counteract each other. Okay, so when we talk about hormone balance, and when some hormones go up, other ones go down, and when other ones go down, the other ones go up, that's leptin and ghrelin. Okay, so when leptin is down, okay, so you're losing sleep, leptin drops down, your appetite is up. When ghrelin goes up, ghrelin is hungry, okay? And so it makes you more hungry. So when ghrelin is up, your appetite goes up. So
yep. Also with cortisol, what's going to happen is that's going to drive your carb cravings. Mm-hmm. It's going to make you crave sugary things and things that will just really throw your game off. So and then insulin, we already talked about that, like how when you're losing sleep, your insulin levels are going to be out of balance. And that's going to cause your body to store fat more quickly and more efficiently than if you were well rested. And I think one thing that I'll throw in here on this too is because we're chronically tired, our hormones are out of balance, we're more hungry, we have cravings that we wouldn't have otherwise. And another thing with that is I think food for us is highly emotional. Like we tie our emotions into food sometimes a lot. Like when when a certain person's feeling depressed, they may eat more. Or when they're in jubilation, they might eat more because their emotion of eating is tied to the different emotions that happen. So I really want you to kind of check yourself as you're thinking about, how's my sleep going? Do I tie my eating habits to certain emotions throughout the day? Am I more tended to eat when I have certain emotions? And tired can be one of those things. So just thought I would point that out. And if you do have a reward system that's kind of backwards, like say, hey, I just busted out that workout, I'm gonna go, pig out on a nice meal. Maybe think of another reward and saying, hey, how else could I reward myself other than something food related? So
I love that, Doc. Emotion plays a big role in that. Hormones have a big role in that. So we hope you guys have 2 or 3 things. I'll tell you this, if you try to implement everything that we just talked about, or try to, oh my gosh, my diet's so out of whack, I'm gonna change everything. Well, what we're going to do now is in part 2 of this series, Dr. Andrew and I are going to come alongside of you and just teach you some very practical tips on what you can be doing, some resources that you can utilize to kind of guide your path if you're wanting to change it. And one of the things that I actually learned from a patient, I'll be honest with you, some of my greatest teachers are my patients. She chooses 3 things every month that she's going to change in terms of habits. And so don't try to change everything overnight. Pick out just a couple of things from here that you say, hey, you know what? I am somebody who oversnacks, or man, we do buy a ton of fruit and not enough vegetables. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start replacing 1 fruit with 1 vegetable for our family every week. I mean, just pick out something simple because those things will compound over time.
Absolutely.
Cool. Anything to add to that, Doc?
You got it.
Awesome. We look forward to sharing with you guys soon.